Welcome on into Blue Central Postgame. He's Thomas Welch. I'm Luke Slabaugh here on STL Sports Central. All content brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Head coach Jim Montgomery said it himself. Tonight was all about attitude, all about fire, finding that spark after one of the worst losses of the season last night at the Washington Capitals in D.C. It was about 50-50 battles, winning those for the puck, digging in your heels. And the Blues did just that. 3-0 shutout win over the Buffalo Sabres in Western New York. Thomas Welch, good to have this one in the books. What was your takeaway tonight?
Yeah, I think obviously the big thing is getting back in the win column, right? And kind of getting steps in the right direction. And the Blues did that off the jump tonight with Matthew Joseph, who's just been an absolute hound, a pit bull on the ice for this team, a workhorse. When Jim Montgomery talks about players having fire in their belly, like Matthew Joseph is the guy that is, I think, in the leading category for players doing that right now. So to see him get on the score sheet and get things started for the St. Louis Blues, nonetheless on a shorthanded goal, I think that was huge for their momentum, and they just kind of built from there. We were kind of, it was a good first period, but then we saw the collapse last game, like specifically happen in the second period. So I think like we were all kind of waiting with bated breath to see, okay, what's going to happen at this point. But they came out strong and kind of held their own throughout the course of this game. And they got the result that you needed. Go back in the win column. Obviously, Jordan Kyrou, the big news was that Jordan Kyrou was healthy scratch. He was in the press box tonight, as well as Oscar Sundqvist. So we're going to see, what, and Jim Montgomery said that could have been any number of players that could have been in the press box. So we'll see what happens with that going forward. But as it stands right now, the Blues got the win against the Buffalo Sabres team that seemed like they were struggling just a little bit. So there's some things on the Blues end to shore up. 17 shots on goal, 9 times out of 10 isn't going to cut it in this league. And they're like you talked about, Luke. There's puck battling, and they gotta shore things up. Like there were a couple disconnected passes here and there, but by all accounts, they did everything they needed to win the hockey game, and I think that's a good starting point for this team.
Right. Nothing like just an all-around effort by this team. And nothing like an aerial view for Jordan Kyrou to kind of see what's going on the ice, perhaps some self-reflection there. And we'll get to that later in the show. You mentioned fire in the belly, and that term was brought up by Chris Kerber and Joey Vitale more than a dozen times tonight. When I think of fire in the belly, I think that I need to call my gastroenterologist. And I also think that I need to call Home Bank because they're the main sponsor of this show. D. Brown's with the comment. Well, we'll get that up there in just one second. But Home Bank, who are they? Oh, they're the sponsor of this show. STL Sports Central and Blues Postgame brought to you by our business banking partners. That's Home Bank. Business lending to everyday banking. Home Bank has been with us since day one. Business ain't just about numbers. We got numbers on numbers on numbers on Blues Postgame. Relationships are important, I've been told. And with Home Bank, those relationships make all the difference. Home Bank is the team behind our team at STL Sports Central. Visit myhomebank.bank or call 855-577-2001. Home Bank, member FDIC. More than a bank. They're your business partner. Home Bank. They're awesome. Joel Hofer, 25-year-old, third career shutouts. A brick wall in the crease. Thomas Welch, where did he shine in your eyes tonight?
I think it was just his confidence and unwavering. I think the main knock on him so far this season has been you can kind of see, especially early on in games, I don't know if it's not being ready to start the game, which has been a reoccurring theme for the St. Louis Blues throughout the course of this season, or just not being entirely locked in. But those first couple of shots on goals on him, have characteristically he struggled with throughout the course of the season. So to see him making those saves early on, even going back to last game, I think he had a good start. It just it wasn't a shutout win. So I think we really saw the confidence levels of Joel Hofer, and even him just feeling comfortable enough. We were talking about 1.6 seconds, kind of breaking this team, and whether it has or whether it hasn't. But feels like going back a couple of games when Joel Hofer had that turnover and kind of coughed the puck up immediately into the slot to the opposition. They just put it into an open net. Feels like that could have been the moment that kind of broke him and broke his confidence to leaving the crease and playing the puck out of the net like we've seen Jordan Binnington do so well. But we know that Joel Hofer is capable of doing that too. And it felt like tonight he was kind of back to his old self in that regard. And maybe it just kind of, short-circuited everything and rewired him back into not just the goalie outside of the crease that we're accustomed to, but the goalie inside of the crease as well. And, good things happen when you have that confidence and play with that swagger that, has got you to this point in your NHL career. And it accounted for 0 goals against him tonight, which is exactly what this Blues team needed.
Has never given up a shot for a goal against the Buffalo Sabres. I think it was something like 58 or 60. There was an own goal last year that he gave up to Buffalo, and that was it. Those first couple periods in particular seemed like there were too many D-zone turnovers. Wasn't quite crisp there. And so the onus is on Joel Hofer there to stand on his head. 27 shots faced, all saved. I thought this could be a really good confidence booster for him, as you mentioned, his ability to play the puck tonight really stood out. I don't think this did anything to increase my confidence in the Blues defense necessarily, although they were better at those 50-50 pucks and they were more aggressive on the back check. What did you see there?
I'm seeing a lot like Jim Montgomery is not messing around when it comes to like his utilization, like obviously on the defense, but also from a forward perspective. Like we saw Robert Thomas sitting out a little bit tonight in the second period and the third, ended up with 15 minutes of time on ice, which was less than Dylan Holloway, less than Jimmy Snuggerud, less than Pius Suter. So, and typically Robert Thomas is your, every occasion, like put him in every situation kind of guy. So like between that, like Jordan Kyrou sitting in the press box, Oscar Sundqvist, Tyler Tucker had 9 minutes of time on ice tonight. Matthew Kessel, 9 minutes. And we're looking at 25 minutes for Parayko, 24 minutes for Fowler, 24 minutes for Justin Falk, and 27 minutes for Broberg. So it wasn't a case of like, the Blues are getting help from all areas. It was a case of Jim Montgomery kind of being like, I can't put you on the ice right now. We're just going to stick with the guys that are kind of, playing the good game for us and locking it down. And, it ended up getting the result, but like throughout the course of an 82 game season, like you're putting 27 minutes of time on ice on a D-man, like it's going to wear them down from a cardio perspective, from injuries and all that stuff. Like it's not sustainable. And for the St. Louis Blues, like, especially when your team is centered around and built around having that depth, not just on the defensive side, from a forward group too, like you got to mix those minutes up and, scatter them throughout the course of the team. So I don't think it's a sustainable way to have success for the St. Louis Blues moving forward in this season, kind of like what you were talking about. But it got them to win the night, and that's all that really matters.
Yeah, and it's those role players that really stood out. You had mentioned that Matthew Joseph is a bulldog, and he came up clutch, shorthanded, mind you. About 7 minutes left in the first period. Cam Fowler's in the box for hooking a great poke check to get a loose puck, creates his own breakaway, and scores a shorthanded goal against Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, the Buffalo goaltender, his 7th career shorthanded goal. And Joseph was a healthy scratch last night. You want to talk about fire in the belly and talk about deflating a home crowd. Like Buffalo came in here with kind of all the chips stacked on their side. And we were talking about the circus leaving town from DC last night. I mean, that was just a piss poor loss by the Blues in Washington. And to be able to set the tone there a little more than halfway through the first period. I mean, what's your take on Matthew Joseph and his ability to stick that play out?
Yeah, I think it's, you can talk about advanced analytics. You can talk about grit, which is like the exact opposite of advanced analytics. But it feels like whatever numbers you look at, like Matthew Joseph was driving this team today. There were 2 players on the St. Louis Blues that were +3 on the ice tonight. One of them was Matthew Joseph. The other one was Nathan Walker. So it wasn't these top end guys like we're talking about, although Bukestad also had a great game and ended up with a goal. So he's kind of staying hot and trending in the right direction. But yeah, it's the grinders. It's the knuckle draggers, as they like to say it in St. Louis. It's the guys that put on their boots and go to work and pull up their bootstraps and It's not always the sexiest guys or the sexiest names on the lineups, but it's the ones that you can count on that are going to bang the bodies, that are going to give it 120%, that are going to fly like full speed into the net, into the goalie, and make it difficult on other teams. And for the St. Louis Blues, those players are Nathan Walker and Matthew Joseph right now. And that ends up getting you on the score sheet and looking pretty good in the eyes of a coach who, by all accounts, is, keeping a short bench, like healthy bombing guys. Like, nobody's safe right now. And so, but like, if you're producing, it feels like you will be safe. So I would expect to see Matthew Joseph in the lineup for next game for sure.
It is very much a what have you done for me lately league.
Right.
I'm going to address this comment in a second, and I want your take on it as well. But first, that was our money moment of the game. And it was, oh, you can leave the comment up here. That's fine. I like that. 3000 East Pittman Avenue, guys. Read it and weep. Read it and weep. Home Bank is the sponsor of this show, in case I wasn't entirely clear. That was the money moment of the game, brought to you by Home Bank, the team behind our team at STL Sports Central. Visit myhomebank.bank or call 855-577-2001. Samuel Howe had commented, the goaltender who posts a shutout should get dibs on the next start. Ride the hot hand. That is not an unpopular take. However, we were talking last night about how this is Jordan Binnington's team, and it has been since early 2019. Who do you start against Seattle?
I mean, I agree. I've always kind of been on the side, like, I mean, I don't know. Well, like, I'm a Jordan Binnington truther by all regards, and like, I'm always gonna, stand up for him and think that like it's his crease, and like, until proven otherwise. And I think he's, especially like, the defense is the defense, and he can only do so much. But I still think he's one of the best goalies in the league. But that being said, dude, like, you got to play the hot hand. I mean, anytime a guy gets a shutout, like, give him the net again, unless it's a back-to-back. Like, and then, if he strings two shutouts together, like, then you really have to give him the net, because like, that's kind of what we did when we brought up Jordan Binnington. Like, we were like, oh, this guy had a really good start. Let's start him again. And next thing you know, like, you're off and running to a Stanley Cup and winning the thing in a Game 7 performance for the ages. So, yeah, I think go back with Hofer and keep his confidence high. Like, be like, hey man, if you play good, like, we're just going to keep playing you. So like, yeah, he should feel good about himself from his performance tonight. I mean, my God, a couple of those saves, that one he made on the doorstep, where it was like a between the legs pass that kind of skirted over. And I don't even know how he saw it, but he just goes flying over and makes a brilliant save. Like, that's the kind of stuff we're accustomed to from Binnington and from Hofer. So to see either goalie in the crease doing stuff like that is, obviously trending in the right direction. But for the Blues, it's a huge momentum boost. Like, when you feel like you can trust your goalie, it kind of shores everything together, makes the defense play a little less tight, makes the offense kind of, feel like they can stretch their legs a little bit more without getting caught up, and trust the whole team more. So it's all, we need everybody pulling in the right direction. And it felt like the goaltending tonight for the Blues definitely was.
You're absolutely right about the momentum that was created by that Hofer save. That was 7:44 left in the first period. Jack Quinn between the legs for Josh Doan, son of Shane Doan, for the former Coyotes faithful out there. And 20 seconds later, Matthew Joseph has that puck out of the zone and scores the first goal of the night. So it's defense to offense, and done the best way possible. You had mentioned that you're a Jordan Binnington truther, and I'm trying to think of throughout recent Blues history, who have we truthed, or who have I truthed as a fan, as a media member, as a human being. And Nathan Walker is first and foremost my favorite player. Will always be. It is just my favorite. But in years past, it was Brodziak, it was Bozak, it was Scotty Upshaw. Dare I say Joel Edmondson, like guys that were just grinders. And I thought they were, they were guys that I looked up to and guys that I enjoyed. So when I see Nathan Walker create this 2-on-1 at the start of the second period, just misses that chance on the odd man rush. And then 10 seconds later, Justin Falk is recovering that puck in the neutral zone, feeding it to Bukestad, and he uses Rasmus Dahlin as a screen to score off of Luukkonen's glove. Again, I'm just thinking about how key these guys are to hold the line and make sure that this season just doesn't completely go off the rails. I thought, to me, that second goal was important the Blues have gotten off to a good start, at least scoring wise, early this season. Like they've scored the first goal and then just kind of collapsed like a souffle. That I thought was just imperative. And it was so cool to see Walker, Falcon, Bustad all in that sequence figure it out.
Yeah, and I think it's, it's just trending in the right direction. But I think one of the main things for me that I've kind of also realized this game, and by all accounts, like I think there's a reason that a lot of people are upset about the Bolduc and Mayu trade, because early implications, like it's a night and day difference of what's happening because Mayu is just struggling. But long term, I think we all have the patience to kind of see how that plays out, especially when you take into consideration the contracts of right-handed defensemen that are going around in the league right now. But I don't think there's enough. I don't think we're giving enough credit to Doug Armstrong for acquiring Suter and acquiring Bugstad in the offseason, because like early implications for these guys, like they're doing a great job in the roles that Doug Armstrong is expecting of them. And Suter, I believe, is leading the team in points right now. So especially with, Jake Neighbors missing time with injury, Robert Thomas missing time with injuries, obviously Jordan Kyrou has been like, he had the point streak for a little bit, but now he's getting healthy bombs. So like you're looking and searching throughout the course of this team for somebody that's going to step up and solidify themselves in that position. And those are two guys I think that are doing that right now, including Matthew Joseph, which, last season, I think a lot of people were, not necessarily dogging him, but it's like, okay, he's like, an extra forward, an extra body we can have as a depth piece, but like, he's not really a needle mover. And even this offseason, like going in, we're like, is he going to make the team? Like there's that third line right wing spot, but like there's a lot of guys that are vying for that, including Dvorsky, Carbonneau, Texier as well, which we saw Texier on the first line tonight get a little look there, and was quickly replaced with Jimmy Snuggerud. But it's giving him an opportunity and getting people in different spots to hopefully create different results. So I think all of that accumulates into the fact that like the Blues are getting some level of production and steps in the right direction from a bunch of different pieces right now. So it's going to take everybody lining up at the same time to really start putting some consistent like wins together in the form of a win streak. But there's possibility, and we're seeing the writing on the wall right now that they are able to win hockey games. It's just that consistency that needs to show up night in and night out.
Matt Z in the comment section does correct me on the word choice here. He says apologist over truther. However, Nathan Walker got nothing to apologize for. He's just doing his thing. Darth Missouri also calling me out, which it's an interesting name, says that Blues fans a little too obsessed with tough guys, worshiping at the altar of Tony Twist and Ryan Reeves. And while I do understand that, this is a different story, because the Walkers, the Josephs, they've shown that they can make plays on either end of the ice. Speaking of, the moment you wanted to get into was Tyler Tucker taking down none other than the O'Fallon native Josh Dunn. How about that fight?
Yeah, I think it was just cool. I mean, we also saw them having the conversation like before the game, and it looked like Josh Dunn went over to Tyler Tucker and was like, hey, I'm a St. Louis boy, maybe just like give me one. And Tyler Tucker kind of looked like he was like excited about the idea of doing it, but also from Tyler Tucker's perspective, I mean, you were talking about it earlier, like he's got like a ton of fights already on his resume early on in the season. So if he's just going to be duking them out, like, yeah, if he's going to be throwing them down every night, like I'll come watch some Blues games, even if they're continue to struggle, just so I can see Tyler Tucker like stack some bodies, like, and that's just old, hard-nosed, like blue-collar style of hockey that we're accustomed to here. But yeah, when you talk about the physicality versus the skill guys, like, Jordan Kyrou by every regard is one of the most skilled guys on the team, especially with the way that he skates up and down the ice. And it feels like, even when he's trying to figure out his defense and gets Selke votes last season, this fan base still finds ways to scapegoat him as the issue. So obviously he's healthy bomb tonight, and the coach, wants to shore it up, but like they're having conversations with him and he's taking accountability for his play as well. So it's like, I think there's a perfect blend of like a hybrid player that goes into like wars and wins battles and, grinds it out and goes to like dirty areas of the ice while also having like high end skill. But that being said, like Doug Armstrong has built this team around physical guys because 9 times out of 10, like outside of Dvorsky, like this team hasn't drafted in the top 10 of drafts in a long time. And it's because they've been consistently successful at making the playoffs. So like, you're not getting Jack Hughes. You're not getting Connor Bedard. You're not getting like Connor McDavid because you're not drafting that high. You don't get Matthew Tkachuk because you're not drafting in the top 10. So like, I get everybody wanting those players, but like you're not in a position to really get those players or acquire them unless you trade for them or get them in free agency. And most people don't want to come to St. Louis in either of those scenarios because they can go to Florida, they can go to Vegas, they can go to, Miami, they can go to like Canada if they're from there, like playing Toronto in the bright lights. Like, there's a whole lot of reasons of why like that goes into it, all of these things. But when you've got a guy on the team like Ivan Barbashev, who leads the team in hits. I mean, Dylan Holloway is a perfect example. Like, I think he ended up with like close to 200 hits last year, and he's a 20-goal scorer. Like, he's got the skill, he's got the physicality. Dude's a gym rat. Like, that's the kind of players that the Blues are able to acquire. And like, sometimes you have to like acquire them on a win and hope that they pan out. And sometimes they don't pan out, and that's okay. But I think just the top end skillers that you see in the NHL, like for the Blues, like it's not necessarily like always an option for them because they can't really get them in the draft unless they trade up or, some kind of crazy scenario happens.
Yeah, you are right that the Blues don't draft high. They don't get those blue chip prospects. The prospects that they do have, that they develop, cashed in for some good players. Think Tage Thompson now on the Sabres for Ryan O'Reilly and others. And yeah, I mean, St. Louis
crush with their like late first round picks though. Like, I think that's why they've been successful too.
You're absolutely right. St. Louis, I think the free agents in the NHL are missing out. It's either St. Louis or the hockey capital of the world, Miami, Florida. A comment here from Ace6583, Rob says, Oscar Sundquist also sat out. Should also say that he hasn't looked great the last couple of games. Clay commenting as well, Sonny is back as a fan favorite. He has his moments, especially on the PK. But other than that, a loss for words. Aaron Dodson, I think this Kyrou narrative has permeated for like 3 years now. Back when he and Berube got fired and someone quoted him without context in the locker room, and then he cried after the game, and I think I was working that game for something. I don't even remember. Says my biggest problem with Kyrou is I've been told he's a 40-goal guy, and I'm not seeing it. 37 is probably the max, and that's not good enough in my eye. And the media is apologizing, not truthing, for Jordan Kyrou. What say you?
Yeah, I just think, I mean, even going back to the last post game, it's like if you view like Jordan Kyrou as the St. Louis Blues version of like Austin Matthews, like, yeah, you're probably going to be disappointed with that comparison. But if you view Jordan Kyrou as like a serviceable, like high end top 6 forward in the NHL, because that's the contract and that's how he's getting paid, like, would you take 37 goals from a guy that's on your second line? Like, I think I would. I think I'd be okay with that as a result. So, I think Jordan Kyrou was signed to his long-term contract with the idea that he's a top 6 forward in mind, not necessarily a top 3, but a guy that you can flex into that position if you need to. And we've seen that before, and we'll probably see that again as, the windmill continues to turn of Jim Montgomery's decisions here. But I think, he's making $8 million, which lines up with a lot of second liners around the league now. But the goal production and the nose for the goal and the speed that he brings to the St. Louis Blues is there's not many guys on this team that are capable of doing that. And now that you're adding in a wrinkle of like a two-way game to the point where he got a Selke vote last season and was a +20, like the whole team is struggling right now. Right. And I think we can all agree on that. Like from a defensive perspective, like it's all the forwards, it's all the defense. And then like the goalies have to stand on their own too. But like, so nobody's really going to look good from a plus minus perspective right now. But like if and when the Blues figure it all out, and if and when that happens and they kind of shore it up from a forward side of the defense, I think Jordan Kyrou is going to be much more of a positive than a negative that this discourse around him is currently profiling him as.
Understood. This show also brought to you by our friends at DK Sportsbook. I think this might be my internet timing out. Oh, nope. Here it is. There's DraftKings. Missouri, get ready. Wait's almost over. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, coming soon to the Show Me State. New Missouri customers can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today, and when they go live, place just a $5 bet to unlock $300 in bonus bets. Starting November 17th, you can create your DraftKings Sportsbook account in Missouri and get ready for launch day on December 1. DraftKings Sportsbook brings everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when they go live in Missouri, you'll be betting with the Sportsbook app trusted by millions, safe, secure, and with fast money withdrawals. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when DK Sportsbook goes live December 1st. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Let me play this jangle.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
The Blues improved to 5-8-2 with a 3-0 win over the Buffalo Sabres on this Thursday night. Samuel Howell is telling me that, yes, it is my internet that was the culprit tonight. Understood. Such is life. Worst goal differential in the league. The Blues have a ways to go. Could be a start of something good. Just one night. This is one night out of many in an 82-game season. They will go up against the Seattle Kraken Saturday at home, 6 o'clock face-off on FanDuel Sports Network. Kraken are third in the Pacific Division, 7th best team in the conference. Thomas Welch, what are you looking forward to the most about another Western Conference matchup?
I think it's, I mean, we talk about it every time they get a win, but it's the reoccurring theme that keeps rearing its ugly head for this team, whether it's from period to period or whether it's from game to game, is that they're inconsistent. So just like the Edmonton Oilers game, you have an opportunity to build off of a win and string 2 in a row together. Put Joel Hofer back in goal because it's obvious that he's feeling himself right now, and that's exactly how we want him to feel, right? And he's coming off of a shutout. Like, reward the guy. Like, you are, by all accounts, you are punishing players right now negatively, right, when they're not performing. When a guy does perform, like, let's reward him a little bit. You know, I think we've seen instances like that with Matthew Joseph kind of getting more opportunities and more ice time. Even a guy like Texier, like, if he has a good game, throw him on the first line because why not? Like, switch things up. Same thing with Joel Hofer. Dude just got a shutout. Like, the Blues haven't shut out many teams this season. In fact, more often than not, they're letting in 4+. So let's run that back again. And, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But yeah, just keep the confidence up. You got a 3-0 result against a Buffalo Sabres team. Yes, were their fans booing, like, starting in the second period all through the end of the game? Absolutely. Do they probably want Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen's head on a platter and ship him out of town so they can appoint Colton Ellis, their new starter? Probably so. But that being said, like, a win is a win, and you'll take them every single time in the NHL. So let's go get another one.
UPL, third game back from a lower body injury, tripping a full-speed Dylan Holloway. It was interesting. I liked how Kerber and Vitali were like bad cop, good cop, and then Vitali was like, "Oh no, wait, he's looking him dead in the eyes." Like, that was horrible. And to your point about Buffalo fans, well done. Like, those people, they go there. I mean, I'm not going to compare them to Blues fans. We're not doing this. However, like, to be able to fill up most of that arena for a team that's playing mid, like, they've got some talented players, but they're mid right now. They're middle of the pack, not doing great. And to show the unsatisfaction with the product on the ice, having made the playoffs in 15 years. I couldn't believe that when I heard it. Like, no, it was bad product for them.
That's
like,
some perseverance for sure. I don't know if I would be that strong, especially being a Blues fan and kind of getting used to a team that, even if you don't have a chance in making it like far in the playoffs, like they somehow still manage to like squeak in, feels like almost every year. So that's just kind of what we expect as Blues fans. And Doug has always said, like, he's trying to make this team as competitive as possible consistently. 14 years without a playoff experience is tough. Like, I don't know that I would last that long. And that's especially showing up to the stadium the way that they are, like you were talking about. Like, I mean, that's some next level stuff. Chat's talking about, did I think that Texier had a good game? No, I'm more so saying, like, if Jim Montgomery thought that he had a good game last game and then rewarded him with playing like first line minutes to start this game, do I think that he played well this game? Well, Jimmy Snuggerud ended up on the first line with Robert Thomas and Buchnevich. So I think that kind of tells you everything that happened there, especially after he, took that penalty when you're up 2-0 I think it was in the third period, and the time's dying down, and gives them an opportunity. And whether it's a soft call or not, like giving them an opportunity to get back into the game, it's tough. So I don't think Texier was terrible, but I don't think I can see why they took him off of the first line, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. And to your point about, benching someone immediately or restacking your lines immediately after a penalty or a poor performance, at what point in this season with no real momentum, at what point does that retaliatory style of coaching come back and bite you? Because that was Berube's thing. It was just very, he was gruff. He was man. He was a leader of men. Won't this grow sour in a while?
Yeah, and I think, there's a lot of fans that are asking me the same question. They're like, if we're switching up the lines every night, like, how is this team supposed to build chemistry? And to be honest, I don't have an answer for that, because I don't know. I don't know if they're able to. And I think that's kind of like the, you either win or you lose in that regard. Like, and for Jim Montgomery, he's choosing, like, hey, if it's not working, like, I have to switch something up. And other coaches will choose, like, hey, if it's not working, like, I just need to trust that eventually it will, because it has worked in the past. So it's kind of like a pick your poison in that scenario. But I think any good NHLer and any good professional in any field will, overcome the obstacles and overcome adversity, and they'll find a way, given like the scenarios and the system that they're working in, to find success. So I think the players are at this point are expecting that if they have a rough night, especially with the way that lines were jumbling tonight and Robert Thomas missing out on some minutes, like, I think they understand that, like, nobody is safe now, especially with Jordan Kyrou in the press box. I mean, those are like, Kyrou and Robert Thomas are, if you're going to make examples out of people, like, showing the rest of the team that even those two aren't safe from your wrath, apparently, like, I think that's a good way to send a message home to the rest of the team, like, hey, play well, or like, you're not going to like the fact that you're sitting on the bench or sitting in the press box. So I think they understand that now. And I think, moving forward, it should be in the back of everybody's minds while they play, and play with some more tenacity, play with some more grit, win those board battles, and create more chances, and you'll end up with positive results for the team. And I think that's the entire point that Jim Montgomery's trying to drill home.
We might get a sense for Jim Montgomery's thought process depending on who he starts in net Saturday against the Kraken. Lest we forget, 4 years ago, when Jordan Binnington was injured for quite some time and Ville Husso stepped up and was able to earn a fair share of starts, it did skew the narrative and have people on edge in St. Louis in that playoff run that season. We'll see if that's the case. But for now, he's Thomas Welch. I'm Luke Slabaugh. This has been Blues Central Postgame on STL Sports Central, brought to you by DraftKings. The final score tonight, your St. Louis Blues 3, the Buffalo Sabres 0. Good night. Stay safe. We'll see you this weekend.